Hello, my loves. I am doing a impromptu community live. I actually felt that we were going to be. I felt this energy coming on yesterday, but it didn't feel like the right timing. Whereas today, I know it's the right timing. Um, so we're just going to dive right in. Today, I'm working with my 12th dimensional Octurian self. I'm using my QET method. Um, and we really want to talk about some planetary influences that are currently happening and how they affect the physical body. And you can use this and return to this anytime you feel called, especially if you are somebody who is familiar with your placements in your chart. And know, you don't have to be an expert in astrology, but if you hear, these transit and it resonates with something that's happening in your body, you can always return to this and utilize it. We're not going to go into every planet today, but because there is, like I said, an astrological alignment happening, and the guides are always very clear that astrology, much like time, are markers for experience. So it's a marker that allows for certain things to activate, certain energies to activate, and everybody's going to experience that a little bit differently, depending on your divine blueprint, right? Your chart of what you designed for yourself to experience at a particular space and time. So as you guys know, I'm a multidimensional channel. So that means I don't just channel beings like that we would associate with like the Arcturians or Pleiadians or Andromedans, but everything is energy, right? So the planets are also sentient beings. And so we can learn to or connect with um, these sentient beings and receive from them, learn from them. Allow it to be something that we assists us in our evolution. This has been something that the ancients have been doing, since the beginning of their collective, since the beginning of, really the existence and the beginning of the evolution of the human. So it started with the ancients and it moved into the shamans, the sages, and the metaphysicians. Um, they're the ones who really started the process of working with planetary energies, channeling the energies, learning from the energies of the planets and how they affect our body and how to use them for healing. And when it first started happening to me, it was kind of strange because I wasn't an astrologer, but I suddenly knew things about the planets that maybe, say, an astrologer who studied would know. And then even things that maybe they didn't know, or didn't, if they did, they didn't, bring into their thing. And um, I really started to go, this is really interesting. And it really began my journey of connecting with the planets and working with them. And that was around the time that my course Unity was born, where we actually started using planetary energies. I started using planetary energies more publicly. I used to use them in my DNA activation and restructurings and in certain healings, but it started to become like a more regular thing. So I have been working with the planets for quite some time in this way. The astrological event that is actually exact on the 31st, which is tomorrow, from the moment that I'm recording this, is the Mars-Uranus conjunction. It is also conjunct with the North Node. The North Node really isn't really a planet, right? It's just an energy. It's a marker, and it's kind of directing us towards our destiny. So your North Node is the direction in which you are meant to go in. The South Node represents your karma, which is the things that you chose to come here and experience, again, from a different angle, maybe from a different point of perception, for the purposes of understanding so that you can integrate that aspect. It was a choice you made. So the South Node is always going to represent the things that we chose to say, I'm going to go in, I'm going to take a scoop of karma, and I'm going to I'm going to choose to look at this, this, and this, and this from a different perspective. So maybe instead of being the daughter, I'll be the mother this time. And maybe instead of being the victim, I'll be the perpetrator. And the reason why we do that is so that we can have another perspective. And the more perspective we have, the more chances we have to understand something, and to allow us to open our heart to have compassion, right? So when we open ourselves up, we allow that energy to come in, we have understanding, we can begin the process of integration. And that integration is first allowing that energy to come into us, right? But then we have to start taking actions to change those behaviors. We have to choose differently. So we won't really integrate the lesson until we start to choose differently. And so we consistently take different action, to change the pattern in our program. So that's really how this kind of energy works. So we want to kind of to lay the north and south node energies down. So right now, Mars and Uranus are connecting. And the Octarians, by the way, are much more scientific, and mental, for a lack of a better word. Not that they don't feel, but they don't sense energy in the depths of, say, the Pleiadians or the Andromedans, where it's very physical in the body, and very emotional. It's more mental in nature. And so it creates this pressure in my head. And so I tend to channel a lot faster when I'm channeling the Octarian. So I'm going to do my best to slow it down. So right now we have this conjunction that is going to be the strongest between right now and, say, the August 2nd, 3rd. And this is really an activation. So this is an activation of the North Node. This conjunction between Mars and Uranus has actually been ongoing for a few years now. It's actually been activating since 2020, it's been activating the crumbling of our current structure. Within that, over that time, we had Saturn come into the mix. We're not going to talk about this for too much, but I want to bring it up because a lot of this conjunction had Saturn in the mix for quite some time, and Saturn really represents our structuring, and that's like our bones, our physical home, like, anything that's a solid structure. And so it really allowed for Mars, Uranus, and Saturn to come in and start to energetically break that structure down for the collective. And just because the energetic activation happened doesn't always mean that the physical thing happens right away. So we've been watching that physical manifestation kind of play out, because everything is energy first, right? So as that energy happens, the physical happens, the tangible, and even in, if we want to use dimensions 3 and 4D, those third and fourth dimension are much slower moving, right? That's what a frequency is. 3D is a frequency, 4D is a frequency. So when we move up the frequency scale, each frequency vibrates at a different rate of speed. So third dimension vibrates much slower than the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension. And so it's kind of educating you guys a little bit on how that works. So anyway, we give me a second. So as the frequency, right, as these energies activate within that frequency, because it vibrates at a slower rate of speed in these dimensions, right, that we are currently in, which we are currently as a planet in fourth dimension. And we've been in the fourth dimension, meaning the Earth has been in the fourth dimension since 2012. Then there's a slow motion replay. So just because something is activated and something energetically is activated, and we may tangibly feel it as sensitive beings, those of us who, depending on your frequency, you're going to be a little bit more sensitive. So you're going to feel things more tangibly in your body and have more tangible experiences with those. You may feel them and sense them, and why so many people kind of prematurely predict things that happen is because they're sensing it in their energy, but there's no physical, tangible thing showing it, because it's a slow motion replay. Everything kind of happens a little bit slower. So even though the energies happen, right, there's a slow motion replay. And so these are just things to kind of give you a foundation for this to stand upon. So right now we're at, once again, we're at a point where Mars and Uranus are coming back into an exact conjunction. There's other planetary influences, but those are the two that we're really going to talk about today. And the reason why is because these two really, all planets affect our physical bodies. Again, these planets and the astrological markers are markers for experience. So they activate certain energies, certain things to, like photonic, like certain energies to activate in our body. It's like turning on a switch. And so we really want to talk about those things so that it can really help you. Plus, I feel like there's a lot of people who have physical misalignments happening in their body right now, especially in this group. And so what I want to do is, what the Octurians want to do is bring forth a language of light, realignment for certain things in our body. So Mars is something will be easy for you guys to remember, is a red planet, right? So Mars helps us, manages, influences, affects our red blood cells. And our red blood cells take oxygen from our lungs and infuse it into our tissues, into our organs, into our bones, into our structure, right? It's very, very important part in influence. In addition to that, it's connected to our sexual organs. So even though I wouldn't consider your hips being really a sexual organ, you could feel it in your hips. I like, I'm hearing in my head birthing, right? So when we're birthing something new, sometimes, especially women who've given birth, there's excruciating pain in your hips when you give birth. Even when you're just pregnant, it can be excruciating pain in your hips, and right at that groin area. And so you may be experiencing pain there, because also remember, if Mars is influencing your red blood cells, what happens is all your blood rushes to the spaces that need healing, right? So a good way to recognize this is if you go into a state of fight or flight and your nervous system is activated, and that activated nervous system is tied to Uranus. But if you are in a state of fight or flight, you might not be hungry. You might not even be thinking about eating, right? And it's because your activated nervous system, those energies are affecting everything in the lower three chakras, right? It's affecting the human, and the human is represented in the lower three chakras. The higher self, galactics, grander versions of ourselves are represented in the upper three chakras. And the heart is just the pass through. It's the void, the space between the connector, the 0 point field. And so when we have an activated nervous system, most people feel it in their gut, feel it in their stomach. So what happens is all the blood in the body is rushing to the gut. It's rushing to that area. And so we're not hungry because our area of our body is filled with blood. It's filled with blood because the blood is like, oh my God, this is where she's feeling it, or he's feeling it, right? And so this is where we need to rush all of that energy, all of that blood to heal and nourish. We have to bring oxygen to that area. So it works the same with any other part of the body. So Mars is activating your red blood cells to bring fresh oxygen to parts of your body that have stored energy that is time to heal. Okay. So that could be your uterus, your fallopian tubes. It could be your groin, your hips. It could be activating your Kundalini energy, because that's a part of your sexual thing. It could be, you could be feeling this in your sciatica, or not your sciatica, your, what is that word? Your tailbone. They're showing me the body part, but I can't quite, they're showing me the word, but I always, coax, thank you. Your coax. So right at the bottom of your spine. So it's going to activate a lot of your sexual energies too. It's also connected to the sacral. And the sacral is our bloodline to our ancestors. It is the portal to our past, but it's also kind of, where the third eye is kind of the portal to the future. And if you have been in any of my courses, well, not any of, some of my courses, I've gone into the correct teaching of, I hate to say that word because there's no right or wrong, but a more aligned point of view of the chakra system, where the lower three chakras, um, or the upper three chakras are just mirrors of the lower three chakras, right? And the heart, again, is just it's the space between, it's the 0 point field, if you look at an infinity symbol. And so it's activating that sacral energy. And that sacral energy is really about healing our ancestral line. It's about healing that past so that we can go into a new direction, into our future. And so with that sacral, you're going to see more aggression, more agitation. You're going to feel the energy to be more rushed. You're going to feel the energy to be more pressured. You're going to feel the energy to be more impulsive. If you harness this energy, if you harness the energy of anger in a healthy way, it can actually lead to more creativity. It can lead to more production, but you have to find that balance point so that you're not overworking or over moving or overworking out or, overdoing anything, right? So that's going to be different for everybody. Some people work and work more, work out more, are more creative more than other people on an everyday basis anyway. So you are the only one that judges, am I overdoing it? Am I doing too much? Am I in avoidance? Am I just feeling this energy? And instead of being with this energy, I'm like, I got to get it out of me. I got to get it out of me. That's you trying to escape or you trying to avoid feeling it. And I have been feeling that energy. Again, sometimes that can feel like anxiety, which is just an abundance of energy, right? So all this energy is activating within me. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, I got to move, I got to move, I got to do, I can't sit still. And so when I feel that, that is my sign to sit still, right? Is to do the opposite of what my urgency is to do. And so you sit still and you allow yourself to feel and you allow that energy to wash over you. And then you really take your time and you don't bulldoze, you don't pressure, you don't push, you don't do those things, right? But you can harness it. You can harness your anger, your agitation, your frustration, harness your abundance of energy, not anxiety. We want to take that word away. And you can utilize it for creativity. You can utilize it for productive things. But again, we don't want you to go overboard. Excuse me, let me clear. I'm actually going to be receiving this healing as I facilitate it. I usually don't like to do that, but it is what it is today. Okay, so where else do we want to talk about this? Okay, so again, it's going to go into your tissues. It's going to go into the red blood cells are carrying the oxygen from your lungs, and it's bringing it into the body, into the tissues, into the bones, into the organs, into all of those things. So it's wherever you feel discomfort in your lower region, whether you're male or female, just recognize in that moment that you have an abundance of red blood cells going to that space and oxygenating an area, right? Bringing life to it, bringing clean air to it, bringing healing to it. Because think about when you go to a hospital, I'm gonna bring a little bit of a human perspective in real quick. Side conversation. When you go to a hospital and you're sick or you're about to go to surgery, what do? They give you fresh oxygen. They give you oxygen to support you so that your body can do what it needs to do. So this is what this alignment is. It's bringing you, it's like being your respirator, and it's putting oxygen, fresh oxygen into the areas that it needs to, right? And that oxygen, our breath, is how we lose weight. It is how we move energy. A lot of people don't know that. You don't lose weight because you pee or poop it out or sweat it out even. You lose fat through your breath. So when you do cardio and you're breathing, when you do breath work or Kundalini breath work or Kundalini yoga, the things that you use conscious breath for, that's how you actually release fat cells. Isn't that crazy? So breath is how we move anything. It is our transportation of energy. And so it's taking fresh oxygen and it's pushing that out to start to move that. And so as it does, as it breaks down the density in those parts of the body, by bringing that fresh oxygen, it's going to start to come up. So you might be coughing more, you might be belching more, yawning more. You might be having those things, anything that really has to do with the lungs. So you might start to notice that your breath is different, or you are coughing more, or you're breathing differently, right? Anything that has to do with the breath is going to be affected. You're going to notice those things. Because what it does, yeah, that's a good point. So it brings the blood cells, the oxygen to that part, right? And then through your circulatory system, it brings it back to your lungs, and then you express it out, right? You cough it out, you exhale it out. So breath work right now is going to be a really good way for you to help yourself. So like this morning, I do it almost every morning, not every day, but I do a Kundalini breath routine. It takes me about 10 minutes max. And it moves the energy up my spine, and I use my breath as I'm moving the energy from the base of my spine up and out. I use my breath as the point of exhale, right, to release the energy. Some days like today, I have a lot of pain in my hips and my groin area, a lot of pain, and it's not really pain; it's tender. And so, even though I didn't want to do that today, because those Kundalini moves, rotate around the base of your spine, so it rotates your body. It really helps with spine health and mobility. Um, After I do it, I always feel amazing. And so when you find the resistance to doing a routine, it's because that's actually what you need to lean into, right? So wherever you find the resistance, that the resistance is showing up from the small parts of yourself who say, we don't want to do this because it's uncomfortable for them. And they know that that's going to be part of the integrating those aspects. And so anytime you have resistance to consistency or to a routine or doing something that is in your best interest, you're going to, if you can recognize that's your small self, your small parts speaking to you, small parts of yourself are always the loudest, then you can do those things anyway. You can do the opposite, right? And start to break that unhealthy pattern. So as I mentioned, Mars is conjuncting with Uranus. Uranus governs our nervous system, both for us individually and for the collective. And so with our nervous system, it really plays a role in our respiratory function. So again, our lungs, but also our diaphragm, our trachea, um, our diaphragm, are all affected by this. So breath again is going to be the thing. But here's the thing: Uranus is a liberator. Uranus is a liberator, and so when we think about Uranus being a liberator, and we think about the breath and exhaling it out, we're liberating ourselves. We're setting ourselves free by breathing it out. So we're going to have this conjunction between the sacral, right, and the solar plexus, and all three lower chakras really are going to be affected by this. But we're going to be using our breath to really move that energy. So again, with this though, with Uranus, you can see more lung conditions. So if you have asthma, maybe your asthma is a little bit more activated right now. Again, you may be coughing a little bit more. There may be more bronchial sicknesses that happen. So the lungs hold a lot of grief and a lot of other energies. And so you might see more people getting sick or getting colds that have to do with the lungs right now, because again, if they're not willing to let go, right? I want you to think about this. Their Mars may be taking their blood cells into those parts of their bodies and trying to bring that healing up, but they don't want to let go. Maybe they're not conscious enough to let go of it energetically or through, or otherwise. They're not ready to let go, and they have attachment. They hold on to it. They don't want to speak it. They don't want to breathe it. They don't want to change their actions or their behavior. So what happens when we attach to things and get stuck in things and don't want it, and we hold on to things, we get sick. Disease is born through the acidic environment, from anger, from aggression, mixed with the attachment of holding on. So those two together really are the breeding grounds of disease and create that dis-ease. And so in this time, you may see more people getting sick. You may see more people choosing to exit because it can get quite intense. So we really wanted to bring this in so that you could have a little bit more understanding of what may be happening with your body. Um, do we want to bring in anything else about the physical body with those two? Okay, then I want to talk about the nervous system. So Uranus is also attached to or affect Uranus. That's not the right word they're saying. Uranus. Try to slow this down. Uranus has an effect on our anatomic nervous system. So as this energy is activated through Mars, which is kind of that aggressor, right? The energy that kind of pushes us forward, we can feel as if we have an activated nervous system. Again, we talked about this when we said you may feel anxiety, which is just an abundance of energy. You may feel pressured or rushed. That is your fight or flight system kicking on, right? It is your nervous system kicking on. And when that nervous system kicks on, it's showing where you are in survival. It's showing where there is something in you that feels like it's going to die because it's ready to be integrated. It's something that needs to be moved out of the body, right? Because if there's something that is um, ill or dense or toxic in your body, meaning an old energy that's not serving you anymore, and the blood starts to come to that, right? To move it out, it's going to trigger, it's going to activate, you're going to feel it. So it's going to activate your nervous system. At this time, one of the most powerful things you can do is to, if you don't already know how, you should find somebody who does, help you to learn to soothe your nervous system, regulate your nervous system. So when you feel your nervous system activated, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, also known as people please, it is your opportunity to recognize what is happening in your body and to have your own back and to begin the process of immediately choosing you and regulating your system, bringing yourself back into a neutral state and making that your priority over anything else. Because the faster you can regulate your nervous system, the faster you can actually have the healing or the energy moving through your system, right? Because when we go into a fight or flight, when we have an active native nervous system, we are in a state of resistance. So this energy is trying to move and you're resisting it. So it gets compacted and it becomes pressurized and it becomes more painful. It can cause more combustion in your life and in your body. Again, like we talked about with the lungs, when somebody is resisting letting go, right? They don't want to speak their truth. They don't want to release that energy that they're holding on to tightly, whether it's grief or just standing in their power or whatever it is. Again, that's some level of attachment. So there's this resistance coming in from the human while there's this energy moving. So we have two forces moving towards each other, compacting, pressurizing, making that energy more powerful, more like stronger, more intense on the physical body. So when you have an activated nervous system, recognize that you are in a state of resistance, no matter what level of that it is, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you are in a level of resistance. And we want to move out of resistance. So the moment you find yourself in resistance, the moment you recognize that you have an activated nervous system, you can use the purification process, right? I see you, recognize I am in resistance right now. I am resisting something. What is it move right into I hear you, holding space. What is it that I'm resisting? What is it that I don't want to feel? What is it that I'm afraid is going to happen? Ask yourself multiple questions, multiple ways, so that you can get a clear answer. And when that happens, I am safe is just you accepting what is, right? It's you saying, okay, it's okay that I'm here. Where does this live in my body? Okay, I'm feeling this in my chest. I'm feeling this in my groin. I'm feeling this in my lower back. All right. Now, we don't need to worry about whether it's shame, guilt, grief, anger. Strip all of that away and instead act like you're 5. I got to explain this to the doctor, to my mom, whoever, what these sensations are, and go deeper and deeper. Is it tight? If it's tight, okay, how tight is it? Is it like a rubber band? How big is the rubber band? Is it wide? Is it short? What's the temperature? How does it move? Go in there, investigate. Octarians are really good at investigating. It's kind of where some of this was born from, actually. We are the scientists, if you will. We really like to investigate things and dig into them. That's where the substance is. That is where the wisdom is. So you want to dig into that, right? Explore it. And as you explore the sensations and not the labels of information, you actually get the true wisdom that you're needing. So sensations equal information. We don't want to worry about labels. So doing that, and then I love you anyway, it's just you loving yourself, nurturing yourself, being kind to yourself, giving yourself the space, the time, the patience to do this work, to be there for yourself, to choose you, to not push through, to not abandon you by people pleasing, to not fight with you because it's not something you want to do or something you want to feel. So, or with other people, right? So I feel like that this is going to be, yeah, they're saying they're complete with the education part of this. So I hope this was really helpful because it was very helpful for myself too. So what we're going to do now is we are going to do some language of light. They're going to be bringing in some frequencies and some codes to do physical, I'm going to say physical realignments. It's all energetic. We're working with your energetic structure. But if you start walking and something pops, or you twist and all of a sudden there's a pop, if you find they're making space, so give me a second. If you find that through just your everyday activities, you start to belch or things start to crack and pop, we do the energetic realignments first, and the physical realignments will always show up for you. Okay. So just be wherever you are comfortably, sit up straight. If you're driving, do not listen to this, come back to it. You don't have to lay down. But if you want to lay down, that's great, or put your back against the wall. Either way, we just want you to sit up as straight as possible. We need your spine to be as aligned as possible. So sit with correct posture. We're going to start with just 3 deep conscious belly breaths because I can feel there's some tension here. So just breathing in through the nose, allowing that belly to fill completely. And then out through pierced lips, nice and slow. Two more times, breathing in through the nose. Filling that belly, filling that chest. And out through pierced lips, nice and slow. One last time, breathing in through the nose. Filling that belly, filling that chest. And then once again, out the mouth, nice and slow. Okine ate e kini ok ate ki kushka ate ki anto shu odna ate ki in aka e in oshu ok ana ate ki in shu od ake ene ishnu od ake in one ki shnu ate ki na oshuna ate ki in ashunu ate ki ashu aka kushka shu ate ki shuna ate ede inu shunu a. We're moving into the groin into the hips. Oshne ine ishnu ana ishni ana ashuna ate kine inishunale ine ashuna ale inishno ashkne akane inuk ashno akne in ashukano okne akshno akna ashne in ashno oto akajino sho akne ishne atikene ashno oto ana ona aksh ashokadakshne shnakla ishn aklu ishn aine isho ashnakla Oshla akala ene shuna akala ana akala ona ashno akala ana ene ekin oshuna ashno ana shuna okla akala ene oshna akala ana oshna akala ene kashno okna ene kala akshno ona achne shno kana. Take a breath for me. All right, we're going to work with the red blood cells, and we're going to work with your circulatory system, and we're going to move into the lungs. So if you find yourself coughing, clearing, any of those things, just allow it to happen. Oshnikne ishni ko oshkne ashikne ishni ukn odne ishni in akl ukne nesne ene ishnikne oshne ene oshne ene oshne ene oshne ene oshne ene akl ek oshna akle ene ishni iklo akle krebe ekle ate ebriki utbriki alberkini ashun okne ini uk akne ini ukne ana oshkne okne akne ushun oke ikne okne akne ledibili ushn ashukuta oke Oto oko ono ocean ono short akale eshnu opening up the back of the lungs oshna akale eshni oshnikni akale ekni ini ikni oshne ini ikro akale ala oshna akale ala. If you feel coolness, that's okay. Akale ashno okni oshni kala akale oshna ala aka eshne oshna ashnu na ashne okna. We're clearing out the nervous system and the circulatory system and the lymphatic system. Ake no snat kidela ako de electric akla dilesh kine nish look osh kine relax akle ene is nokle ekan alish ne ene lash look alla atik ene ushne kile urkle de good ene gorotri na adorotri ke ana Ola akilene ne una kala ala ene una ala ishne una ala ene oshna ne oshna ne okana ala ishne ola ka ashnone or snakle ikri ini la akla ola ono oshka ala ene ik una ak oda ishna ak ola ana ala ishne una ana kala ana ak ola la akle ene inu ana ene Ushna ala ene ok ala oshno erde ene osh akala ala e. Take a breath. We have Kuan Yin who's coming in. She's going to bring forth just something to come in and kind of soothe and settle everything because we just moved a lot of energy. So we welcome her. Ashana ate e ne e so shana asekene ime ini shununa. Ashana ala ase ana ateke ine e sine oshna ana ake ne ine e shne. She's bringing through this very beautiful aquamarine ray and just kind of flushing your entire system like a nice cool wash through being under a waterfall, very gentle loving waterfall. Any rapid movements in your body, just know that that's energy moving out. Ushna ashne esine eneme ata ekene ini shno a atekene ana ala a eshne ono okon olo ine e sine ishnu ate ushna ate ine e sine ushna ate ana ase e esine ine esine ota atke ana shana ala akenene. We're going to open the bottoms of your feet and really allow that energy to just wash out of you into the earth. Akana ase eshne, ushna ate ikene ese ene ishno, ana aka ana ase ene, ashna ana oso shana ana atekene, ushno osana ata ana ashna ata e. We're going to do a rebalancing, a crystalline restructuring of the whole entire body now. Ushna, and this is a combination of many beings who are coming together as a one voice. Ashna ate ikene e ne isne ine ushna ana akane e ana ala aka ana ate ine ishnu ana ate kene isne e ana aka ashne ine a akana ana ine me ine ana ma ine ushna ana akane ine ishna ata ana a ushna akana ana ese ese ese. Take a nice deep breath. We're going to close up those feet. Perfect. We are complete. So I want to thank the Arcturians, Kuan Yin, and all the other beings of light and love who stepped forth to speak as a one collective consciousness for this channeling and healing. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. Please comment and let me know how you experienced this. Any ahas maybe that you have had. They do want to add in that this was a lot of energy movement. So today, drinking lots of lemon or lime water is going to be important. The lemon and lime added to your water actually opens up the cells so that whatever's in there can be flushed. If you are not already taking a mineral supplement or eating foods that are high in minerals, please add those into your diet at least for the next 3 days and listen to your body over everything else and be very in tune with it, okay? You can add in breath work. Right now, breath work is going to be super powerful for anybody during this next few days of heavy energy. So these are some things that you can do. Salt baths, being in the ocean, doing anything connected to nature, all of those things are going to help you. You may notice physical ailments if your pee smells funny, if your taste buds change a little bit, if you have weird things happening in your body, know that that is just the manifestation, the physical aspect of the energetic realignment that we just did. Yay, Sonia, perfect. If you want to go back and listen to the beginning, there was a lot of good information we channeled today. So we're done for today. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of this community, and I hope you really enjoyed it. So have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.